further presentation and a panel discussion.
The speaker and Professor Gagat Surya Chandra from Indonesia will be joining offline. Dr. Gatot Haryo Pramono, Bachelor of Science, Master of Applied Science from Indonesia, will be joining online. Scott Atkinson from New York will be joining online, and Insinyur Aditya Nugraha Putra SPMB from Indonesia will be joining online.
And this session will be moderated by Dr. Biodiversity Saputra, SPMB, a lecturer from Department of Soil Science, who obtained her doctoral degree from Wageningen University, Netherlands. For Dr. Biodiversity Saputra, SPMB, time is yours.
Thank you, MC. Good afternoon, everyone. Masih semangat ya? Okay, thank you. Distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the second session of today's symposium, titled Opportunity for Science and Policy Engagement in Crop Biodiversity. My name is Danny. I will be your moderator for this second session. So in this session, we will hear from our four distinguished speakers who will share their insight on the integration of spatial data, biodiversity policy framework, and advanced remote sensing application in supporting sustainable crop biodiversity management. Before we start, I would like to invite Professor Ganan Surya to go in front and sit down here with me. Yes, please. So I would like to introduce our first speaker, Professor Danan Surya Chandra from the National Research and Innovation Agency, or DRIM. Professor Danan is a research professor and head of research group for Geodata and the Research Center for Geoinformatics. He completed his PhD in remote sensing from the University of Queensland, Australia, and his research focused on remote sensing application for land and crop monitoring. So today, Professor Danan will present this topic entitled Prototype National Crop Biodiversity Database, and then after the presentation, the session will be continued by the demonstrations by Pak Wisnu, and then so that all of the participants can know what is the National Crop Biodiversity Database looks like. Yeah, please welcome Professor Danan. The stage is yours.
Thank you, Pak Dan. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, distinguished participants, colleagues and friends. My name is Dana Chandra. I'm here with my colleagues, Pak Trimuji sama Pak Wisnu. We are from the Center for Geoinformatics training. Here, I'm going to present about prototype of National Crop Biodiversity Database. We have been developed this database. So after my presentation, Mas Wisnu will give a demo about this database that we have been developed. ESCAP and CAS University and Clean have collaboration in crop biodiversity project. This project aims to promote crop diversity in selected Southeast Asia countries such as Indonesia, Malaysia, and Philippines. And we developed geospatial crop databases and conduct diversity assessment. This is our integrated methodology for crop biodiversity and land use makeover assessment using field data, remote sensing, and machine learning. Sorry. This is we use field data. We field data set. So field data set such as crop photo collection and modeling. We label the data and then we create a data set, and after that we process classification using deep learning or machine learning. We use CNN and segmentation as well. We also do land use land cover monitoring using satellite data such as Sentinel-2, multi-temporal, and we create data set as well, and then we classify them for land use land cover. And after that, we also classify the crop types. We have several parameters of this work, such as parcel size, cropping intensity, topography, soil type, and others. We use random forest in this work. After we do classification, we will have crop types classification result, and then crop yield estimation as well. All of the data and the output and the result will be put into a platform. So this work we will have many data or very big data. So the question is how to manage the data, how to manage the crop biodiversity data, because it will be very big. We will use data set database. Database is organized collection data that is stored in minutes. So the data can be easily stored, retrieved, modified, accessed, update, and analyzed as well. The database is very important because it centralizes and organizes data. So the big data will be centralized in one place and organized easily. And then it also allows fast data retrieval. It's also support multiple user. It's very important because we will have many users, not only from University or print, also external institution as well. And then it maintains data integrity and security as well. And the last is it enables complex analytics and reporting. This is our prototype of national crop biodiversity database. The goal is to integrate heterogeneous data sources such as imagery, lab data, auxiliary data, and metadata into a unified platform for analysis, for visualization as well, and for external system access as well. This is our data integration pipeline system. In this system, we have several core components. First is spatial database, and then object storage, application programming interface or API, file and asset management, RBAC or role-based access control, and data modeling as well. We also have several roles such as admin and contributor. I will explain more detail in the next slide. For spatial database, spatial database is data that have spatial information. It handles vectors such as vector, raster, and spatial queries. It also supports geospatial analysis. For in object storage, it stores large unstructured data, for example, audit, imagery, documents, and multimedia as well. And then for API and for the content management system, CMS, CMS manages metadata, content versioning, and publication workflows. And for API or application program interface, it provides standardized access for external application and internal services as well. And for the role-based access control or RBAC, it ensures secure, role-dependent access to data and APIs. And for external application include analytical tools, dashboard, AI, ML, or artificial intelligence and machine learning pipelines consuming integrated data. And on the other hand, we also have this data modeling. This is the example of data modeling. For example, like data, the primary key is like ID, and for the field, for example, data type, value, location. But we have add the field uh, what we need, and then data label. The primary key is LID, or we can name uh, others name. And the field, for example, is label type, data type, value, geometric, and etc. And for imagery data as well, auxiliary data, method, and data model output as well. This is a description of each the data modeling. For example, in the imagery data level 1, the description is metadata for imagery data, such as platform type, acquisition time, and etc. And the geometric type is polygon. The other another example is the data. The primary key is left ID, or we can name others name. It is a field or lab measurement data with spatial point, and the geometric type is a point. We also have several roles. We have three main roles. First is admin or administrator, and the second is contributors, and the last is public. For administrator or admin has full system control. So usually it's process professional responsible for managing, securing, and maintaining database, and ensuring it is accessible, safe, and organized. And for contributor is are all user with login credential who can create, delete, or edit data into the database in a particular collection. And the last role is public. Public are all user with no login credential who can access and view public content. It's very limited, only few public content. This is for contributor. Contributor, the national from diversity database will have many contributors, such as Biodiversity, Green, maybe Ministry of Environment, Ministry of Agriculture, local government, and others. So the data will be very big data. This is for example of use case in our database in the Chrome Bio Hub. For example, we have drone. This is the example of the drone image. We can ingest the data into the database. For example, we drop this image data level 1. And we also have spectral reflectance trace. We can ingest or put the data into the database via lab data. And this is another example. For example, we have a classification dataset, or the output of classification. We can put the data or the results into the database via data model output. Okay, the next maybe Mas Vishnu can demo, so you can imagine more detail about this data set, because if we only explain this, I think it's very hard to understand. Please, Mas Vishnu. You can share directly to the Zoom.
I think you could you please display the Zoom screen, because Pak Wisnu will be already joined in the Zoom. Yeah. Yeah, we're waiting, and thank you, Pak Danan, for the presentations. I think the student now really interested to see what is the database looks like, and then maybe later on, hopefully have a lot of questions to ask. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. So I will continue what Prof. Danan has just presented. So that's the concept, the database, and first of all, this is a work in progress. So it's not finished yet. It's just a prototype, but we will show you how we build the data hub. Yeah, we call it Crop Bio Data Hub. This is the interface. First, there will be the login screen like this, and right now there will be three roles. The first role is called admin. Okay, and this is the standard. Okay, we will begin with admin. So the role admin is like a super user, just like any other admin. It can do anything with the system, like creating the data model. The data model is like a collection, where we will put the data, like a box. If we create something, a place like an acquisition platform, what is inside, we can define anything. So it's built flexible and dynamic. So we can create new collection or maybe delete the collection with the admin roles like this. So that right now there are 4 collection like crop types. This is the field or we call it columns if we familiar with the tabular data. There is a status and name, and I already populated with data like this. This is the aggregation platform, your IP, satellite, the crop types. This give you an idea of what is inside. The data model, the imagery of data, this is like this, and we can create it. This is the admin. It also can create a new roles. Let's say we want to create roles that can only write data on the some collection, maybe just imagery of data, or maybe just data on the output. We can create it. It can also create a new user like this. Right now there are 3 users. The admin itself, the data, data entry emoji, and we can assign of the each roles to the user like this. Right now, user in this role, the contributor is Dana. And in the data access, it only can read the data, it cannot write this emoji. We can also add many others people, many others user to this role. So the concept is it can be also the admin can be more than 1 people. See the user or main user. So this is the roles. And the second roles is the contributor. Let me sign out first. This is the number of SC is the contributor. We sign in, and it's quite different from the left panel. There's no clear icon. It cannot do setting, but it has access to the collection. It cannot create collection. It can only populate the collection or read the data. And it also cannot see itself, cannot see any other user. And also it has access to the files. This is the example of, let's see, we want to create a new data like this with a draft. The draft is temporary data, so other people can see it, or archive. It won't be online. So only the contributor can see the archive data, or publish. Anyone can see the data. This is the defined defined field, action data and platform. We can recognize the UAV and satellite only information. We can have anything. This is the imagery file. You can upload data, yes. But since the data is quite big, yeah, it's quite huge. This is just a demo, right? I think I'll try with this one. This is not related to the crop actually, but it will show you how it works. Now there is a new data like this, and there is also the bounding box of the uploaded data and the map surface. We can do with the map surface is overlay with your GIS client like UGIS or ArcGIS. We can using the XYZ times like this. This is for demo, let's see, and we can this. Yeah, but it's quite heavy. I don't think since the server of the client, the map surface is in my laptop is so heavy. All right. Now I have this. This is one of the surface. Sorry. It's here. The surface is the RGB band. This is the map surface. We can load it directly with our GIS client like this. Yeah. Call the map surface. This is the nail pen. Yeah, but of course this is for display only. We can't do any process, digital process with this kind of surface. So this is for to see only. So this is the contributor. See, it can upload the data, create the data, and this is the last row is the data access. It can only read. It cannot upload or create new data. So I think that's all. The key is this is built with a philosophy of flexibility and dynamic. So it can add more collection, add more tables. With this, we can create a lot of things with this, and many people can contribute with this. And the good thing is everything is there is a log to this, so anyone can see who create this and who delete things or maybe write things and etc. So I think that's all about this prototype, and of course this is still work in progress. A lot of things has to be defined, right? What kind of collection we should put in this platform, and who is the contributor, who is the administrator, yeah, who will host in this kind of system. I think that's all from me. I'll give it back to Prof. Dandan.
Thank you. Okay, thank you very much, Pak Dana and Pak Wisnu. Let's give a big applause for our speakers, first speaker. Yeah, I'm sure you have a lot of questions, so please give it at this time, and yeah, later on we will have a session for that. Now I will invite our second speaker. It's a bit different. I mean, it's supposed to be the other speaker, but yeah, we have slightly different speaker list here. So our next speaker is Insinyur Aditya Nugraha Putra, SPMP, a lecturer in the Department of Soil Science, Faculty of Agriculture, University of Brawijaya. Pak Adit is also PhD candidate at the Slovak University of Technology in Bratislava, Slovakia. His expertise include land and water management, GIS, machine learning, and application in agriculture. I would like to test whether Pak Adil already online. Pak Adil, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Pak Danny. Thank you very much. Can you hear my voice?
Today, Pak Adil will present a paper entitled Integrate Remote Sensing and Machine Learning for Accurate Predictions of Soil and Biomass Phosphorus Dynamic in Rice Field Across Complex Terrain. Yeah, we already connected the Pak Adil. Pak Adil, apa kabar?
Okay, I'm fine, Pak Danny. Can you hear my voice, Pak Danny?
Yeah, we can hear you, but it's quite low. I don't know whether is it possible to increase the volume? Yeah, yeah, we can hear you, Pak
Okay.
Adil.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, today Pak Adil will presenting the paper that probably already not yet published, ya Pak.
I have published this paper, Pak Danny,
Okay.
this year.
Yeah, this has been already published. So yeah, I will give the screen to you, Pak.
Okay, thank you very much, Pak Danny. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's honor to be here at the Bio Symposium 2025, Opportunity for Science and Policy Engagement in Crop Biodiversity. Today, I would like to share our part of recent works on integrating remote sensing and machine learning, especially in accurate prediction of soil biomass phosphor dynamics in rice field across the complex terrain. But before I start the presentation, can you see my presentation, Pak Dani?
We already can see your presentation, Pak. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you very much. So let me start with the global overview before we enter to the method. So for more than 10 years, rice has been one of the most important crops, feeding over half of the global populations. However, if we are looking in the right side of the picture, the global rice consumption in 2024, 2025 predicted slightly exceeds productions. This condition signaling of tightening balance between supply and demand. This trend shows that major producers like Indonesia needs to work harder to keep their rice production stable despite climate and market uncertainties. We know that Indonesia play a critical roles producing more than 34 million tons rice in 2024. This is based on USDA, or ranking third after China and India. This highlight Indonesia's strategic role in ensuring both regional and global food security within the ASEAN rice belt. But the problem is when the global overview mentioned that the demand exceed the supply, it's also happened in Indonesia where the demand is higher than the rice production. On the other hand, Indonesia has a great opportunity to produce rice in large scale. This country cultivates more than 10 million hectares, and mainly the rice field located in the volcanic and alluvial zones, which is provide the fertile soils, but also create the complex terrain and also microclimate. So we have advantage in the position, but also challenge in the diverse of the landform and also the microclimates. While the rice production falls by 1.55%, consumption rise by 1.18% in Indonesia. So this is our problem now in our country, and we can see at the picture that rice fields widespread distribute from the Sumatra to Papua, influence productivity and nutrient variability. If I'm not wrong, so if we have like a different landform, so we have like a different rock and soil, so the nutrient will be different in each area. So because of this, maintaining stability across such diverse landscape requires more than traditional management. It needs spatial understanding and technology insight. And increasing the rice productivity start from the soils. As stated by Justus von Liebig, soil health depends on sufficient nutrient availability. Among 18 essential nutrients, phosphorus is one of the most limiting, vital for rice growth and yield, but its use remains inefficient and unevenly distributed. And we have a problem because the monitoring system in Indonesia about how to monitor the phosphorus not only in the soil but also in the plant is still weak because we still using the traditional methods. We try to collect the sample in field and then analyze in the laboratorium. So the traditional methods are slow and costly. And also some research in remote sensing using interpolation, but in the diverse area, the results generally have a low accuracy in results. So in here, we try to integrate multi-source geospatial data within remote sensing and random forest framework to model the soil phosphor availability, total phosphor biomass, and phosphor uptake efficiency in limited data. To understand the problem deeper, we need to look at the phosphor cycle. So phosphor move through soil, plants, and water, influenced by mineralizations, absorptions, runoff, and leaching. Much of it becomes unavailable due to the fixation by iron, aluminum, or maybe calcium minerals, especially under the tropical conditions. Therefore, understanding how phosphor behave in different landform is key to designing better management and monitoring system. As I mentioned in the previous slide, that we don't have precise technology unless traditional method to know the TPP, PUE, and SAP. And why these three parameters? Because this in the previous research, these three parameters is have a good result to detect by some approach, but still have a limitation in the result. We conduct the research in Malang Regency in the south part of East Java. It's around 3,500 kilometers squares. And why we choose this region? First, because the big population, we know that more than 2.7 millions. And the second is in Malang, we have several type of landform. In the north part of the Malang Regency, we have a mountainous volcanic. In the middle, we have alluvial plain, and the south part, we have karst. So because of this reason, we choose the Malang. And if we are try to detailing the karst map in the south part of this region, so the karst is literally not only karst, but the tectonic, alluvial, and old volcanic spirit the karst into patches. So in the just in the north part and then in the south part. So very challenging to know and monitoring the soil availability of phosphor and also phosphor biomass with this condition with high variability of landform. So for analysis this research, in method we are using the Sentinel-2A because it's free and have a medium resolution because we are using the other one like Landsat with 30 meter in resolution. We cannot capture the rice field better. So in here we are using the Sentinel and the digital elevation model from PEK and also the soil data. So after that, we have the climate data and geology, but in vector. So in here, we try to transform the Sentinel-2A into several index, NDVI until OSAPI, and also we try to transforming the dam into the parameter like slope, aspect, and curvature, and all of the parameter in here. But the important thing is this Sentinel-2A that which is transferred to the several index, it used to classify the rice field in Malang. So we are using random forest analysis to classify the distribution of the rice field in Malang Regency. But I want to inform that we are also using the artificial neural network, cellular automata Markov chains. This is a two kind of different method, but after we have a land use map from random forest in 2015, 2017, and also the other year, we try to predict the rice field data in the future. Why we approach with this way? Because in field we have a challenge that separating the sugarcane and rice field and another plan also. So we try to collect the historical data, where is the rice field and the other land use. So from here, we classified not only rice field but also the other land use because this is like we want to know the biodiversity and the landscape. But in the end, we try to extract the rice field and delete the another land use. So now we have a rice field area and we have the landform area, and we have 4,121 point soil sampling and plant sampling in field. We try to collect the sampling with the procedure from Indonesia, and soil sampling depth is in 20 centimeters, about 1 kilograms. We also collect the plant sample and analysis in the laboratorium. And this is the transformation of the Sentinel-2A and also the other parameters. This map represent the spatial parameter used for analysis, including the spectral index, topical derivative, and soil and also climate factor. We try to make it consistent in geometry and resolution with 10 meters. And the limitation in field, we have some challenge like inlet area. It's difficult to capture paddy plant in one stage. We have a vegetative one, we have generative phase, we have harvest and post-harvest, but this is our challenge, the main challenge in field. Also, we have different soil types, topographical condition and something like that. So in the beginning, we assume that maybe this inconsistency of condition stage and also the soil condition will affect on the result. So we move to the results. After we classified the land use from 2015 and predicting to the 2025, we know which part is rice and which part is non-rice. So now we have the area of the rice, and we try to correlate analysis with correlation analysis about the all of the parameter with the TPP and soil availability, and the result show that most environmental covariates show weak correlation, relatively more less than 0.2 with phosphor indicator, indicating that phosphor dynamics are influenced by multiple interaction factor rather than a single dominant variable. But this is where random forest with stochastic statistic will work, because we are not seeing the neighborhood pixel, but we try to make a decision making for the each pixel using the random forest. So this is the data from field. And now we are moving to the random forest. Random forest is different with bias interpolation, like creaking or something like that, because we try to analyze the each pixel by pixel using decision tree. So in here we try making a neural network from our framework, from the vegetation indicator, soil vegetation indicator, and other indicators. And after that, we run the bootstrap aggregating. We try to choose the random pixel using 100 trees. So after 100 trees, make a decision, and then for the 100 trees, we applied the voting. So each pixel will have one information from the 100 trees. And this is the result. The spatial distribution of SAP, or soil availability, TPP, and PUE varies across landform, reflecting the difference in soil properties and nutrient dynamics. This is the SAP, the middle one is TPP, and the right one is PUE. And high SAP and TPP occur mainly in fertile alluvial areas, while volcanic zone show moderate values and cars remain low in here. And we try to validate the data from this result. So if we are using the interpolation, maybe the data result is not good enough, but using the random forest, we have R square more than 0.92, and we have a good predictive precision, the model fit. Also, we have RPIQ values in this range, such as the stable prediction performance with TPP showing the highest reliability. Also, we try not only one way for validation, we also have the MAA, the high F1 score and low mean absolute error confirm the consistent agreement between predictive and observed values. The most influential covariate in here to predicting the phosphorus slope aspect, pH, and clay content. However, we have a good validation result, but we still have a model limitation in here. Despite strong training result, external validation show variability due to the limited field sample and environmental heterogeneity among the landform. So for the take-home message, for conclusion, we can run the model using the remote sensing and random forest, and we have a good result for the soil availability of phosphor, TPP, and PUE. And the developed model effectively integrates multi-source data to predict these parameters, and it enhances the soil security, because we know in every parcel of the land, we know the values of the parameters. But we're facing limitation in model, and the main limitation in plant growth pace and variety, because it spent several times to collect all of the data in Malang if we try to separate the vegetative phase and then generative phase, but it should be true in the future. And the second limitation is we need the ultra high resolution because the Sentinel-2A, which is 100 meters square, cannot capture the biodiversity in this 100 meters square. So in the future, we need the ultra high maybe using unmanned aerial vehicle. Like now we are trying to have a collaboration with the BRIN and also ESCAP to have a better way to analyze the phosphor parameters. I think that's all from me. Thank you very much for the time and good afternoon.
Thank you, Pak Adit, for the insightful presentation. So let's give a good applause for Pak Adit. Thank you very much, Pak Adit, for the presentation, combining advanced modeling and field application, and also showing the importance of random forests, which make our data not random anymore. So if you have a question, please give it for yourself, and then we will have a session for that. Now, we will move to our third speaker. We will have still online presenter. We have Mr. Scott Atkinson, a technical specialist at the United Nations Development Program, or UNDP. Mr. Scott holds an MSc in Conservation Biology from the University of Queensland, Australia, and has been working with UNDP since 2018 on biodiversity monitoring and spatial data planning. Mr. Scott, are you already with us?
Yes, I am. Are you able to hear me?
Yeah, thank you. So, Mr. Scott will talk about the spatial data and planning to support the monitoring framework of the coming Montreal Global Biodiversity Framework, or GNGBF. So please welcome Mr. Atkinson.
Thank you very much. Let me get my little presentation up and running. Are you guys able to see this?
We still can't see you. Yeah, now we can see your presentation and can clearly hear you. So please go ahead.
Perfect. Well, first of all, thank you for inviting me to speak today. It's a pleasure. I'm going to be talking about the UN Biodiversity Lab and how the UNBL is able to support the KM-GBF both in implementation and monitoring towards meeting the GBF goals. As mentioned, it was a little brief bio there. My name is Scott Atkinson. I'm a technical specialist with the UNDP. I'm based in Brisbane, Australia still, after all these years. I've never left Australia after I came to study here. That's probably enough information about me. I know this is a rather short little talk. So my agenda today is I'm going to briefly present to you what UNBL is, some of its history, what it was initially created for, and where we see its future going. I'm then going to just quickly go over some of the data that's in UNBL, some of the general types of data that we have. And then I will go into a little bit of a presentation around the UNBL data collections, which you mentioned briefly, the KM-GBF data collection in particular. I'll try to actually go over live to UNBL and we can play around with that a little bit. There were a few specific questions that were sent to me that I could hopefully try to address today. So I will try to do that at the end. And then if there's any time left, I suppose there's any questions that people might have around the UNBL or any of our work in particular, we can go into that. So just a little bit of a background around the UN Biodiversity Lab. We often just refer to it as UNBL. For those of you that may or may not be familiar with it, and I do apologize as well, I don't have a webcam, so you're just going to have to stare at a photo of me standing with a mountain in New Zealand behind me. So I do apologize for that. The previous presenter did have a webcam, so I forgot to mention that before, so apologies for that. A little bit of a background around the UNBL. Its main purpose and its main intent in its creation was to create a free open source platform. You can visit it at the URL that you see there, or you can search for it. And our intention from the get-go, from the beginning, was to provide a platform that could provide stakeholders. So that's primarily government decision makers, people in NGOs, people who don't really have GIS experience but are in important positions to make decision making. We wanted to provide them a place where they would have access to high quality spatial data and analytic tools that they could use for their national use. So the intention from the beginning was to facilitate making available these best global spatial data sets that could help in planning and implementing and monitoring for things like the GBF. And I just mentioned it a moment ago, but the entire purpose was to create a platform that was not GIS expertise was not a requirement for it. I'm probably talking to a room full of GIS people, geospatial analysts, people who are comfortable either working on the command line or in Python or Java or R or SQL. That was not our target. Our target is for people who have background in policy, who don't know how to really work with data. That's not their background, but they're the ones who really need to get this information because they're the ones making decisions ultimately. So that was the intention of UN Biodiversity Lab from the very beginning. As was mentioned, I started working with the UNDP in 2018. That was the time that UNBL was created. That was so the beginning of it all. I was around from the beginning. That makes me feel quite old now. One of the main drivers of creating the UN Biodiversity Lab in the first place was in response to a study by the UNDP where they analyzed the 5th national reports to the Convention on Biological Diversity, and they found that the vast majority of those reports included almost no spatial data. They included almost no maps. They included almost nothing that could actually identify places in a country where particular actions could be implemented. And that was kind of shocking, the late 2010s, that still countries were not using spatial data. They were not implementing the great resource that the explosion of spatial data in the last 10, 15 years allowed them to do. And subsequently, the reports were, probably not very good, didn't really provide much guidance. So following the work of the CBD, UNBL played a little part in that. In the 6 national reports, they saw an 81% increase in the amount of spatial data and maps that were integrated into the national reports in the 6NR. So we moved on now to the 7th national report and the 8th national report, and we're not playing a particularly large role in that, but UNBL 2.0, which we have moved on to in the last few years, has really moved more into the space around planning and implementing and monitoring for things like the GBF in particular. So some of the key features around UN Biodiversity Lab, sorry, I'm going to have a little drink of water real fast, is first and foremost, as I mentioned, it's a location to access spatial data, particularly some of the global best spatial data on particular fields. This is in particular use case right now related to the GBF monitoring framework, but that was the main primary goal. The key feature of UNBL is this access to spatial data. The second key feature of UNBL is that users, that could be government workers, could be people within UNDP or within the UN system, could also be NGOs and students as well, are able to apply for and access their own private workspaces within UNBL, where they can upload their own secure data and do what they want with it. They can do some basic geospatial analytics, they can make maps, and they can share it with people. And they maintain control of that. This is one feature uniquely for governments, we find, where lots of governments don't particularly share data even between ministries. This is one particular use case where we found a place that different ministries and governments can actually kind of have a workspace where they can kind of collaborate a little bit together. Again, for those high-level policy people that don't necessarily have the GIS background. Thirdly, and related to this creating of workspaces and uses, is the ability of users to create maps for their national reports. The fourth key feature of UMBL is the calculation as well as the display and of indicators and metrics. So what does this mean? These are things like indicators on the amount of protected area in a country, how much of the national estate of land is under some sort of protected covenant. This also applies to the marine realms. We have metrics as well on land cover. Typically, we think about calculating these things at a national level. So we do have those for sure. If a user uploads a polygon for, say, Tanzania, they can then within a few moments after the metrics have calculated, they can get this suite of metrics and indicators available to them based on their area of interest. That can also be a sub-national area of interest. It can be a state or a region. Could equally be a potential protected area, and a candidate protected area, if you will. So they can upload these polygons, these shape files, and then within a few moments they'll be able to get the indicators and metrics displayed and calculated for them. The fifth key feature of UNBL, and this is a relatively new feature on UNBL, is the integration of the ELSA spatial planning tool. So ELSA is an acronym that stands for Essential Life Support Areas. This is a project we've been working on for several years to integrate systematic conservation planning to a larger audience, and in particular, a non-technical audience. For those not familiar with SCP, Systematic Conservation Planning, it's an offshoot of optimization science that essentially allows countries to build spatial plans around their national commitments to protecting areas, sustainable management, and restoration towards their commitments to the CBD and the GBF. And finally, the sixth key feature of UMBL is more larger encompassing. It's our support, our technical support to countries based on their national needs. So just to try to quickly go through a snapshot of some of the data that exists on UNBL. I mentioned protected areas. That's always a big part when talking about conservation. We do have direct access to the World Database on protected areas. If you remember from our first slide, I showed UNEP WCMC, that's the UNEP World Conservation Monitoring Center, who manages the Protected Planet program. They're one of our key partners on the UN Biodiversity Lab. They manage this database. For those who aren't familiar, it's the largest singular collection of global protected area information on the planet. They receive that data from governments, so it's only as good as the information coming to them, but we have access to that. This also includes things like the Park Connectedness Index, which is a metric of connectivity between existing protected areas. Into a snapshot on biodiversity data, we have things like the Biodiversity Intactness Index, which is an index that tries to measure the state of biodiversity compared to a natural environment prior to human conversion of landscapes. If you're looking at the map in front of you, you can see those green areas, those are relatively intact. Those areas in red have been heavily converted. Their biodiversity intactness is obviously much lower. In the tropical realms, we have some data sets related to tropical forest integrity and forest structure, such as the FSI, the Forest Structural Integrity Index. And we also work alongside and have data from the Key Biodiversity Areas Initiative. A snapshot of our climate change and carbon data. We have several different data sets on above ground and below ground biomass carbon, as well as a few different sources of soil organic carbon available. Moving into ecosystems and land cover data, we do have several different sources of land cover. Somebody at the previous talk to mine was mentioning the Sentinel data, which is one of the driving force behind some of the Esri 10-meter land cover products that some of you might be familiar with that are annually updated. We include not only that, but we do have some of these longer temporal data sets, such as the ESA CCI land cover. And we also have a few data sets that speak to ecosystems and ecosystem classifications. So that includes things like the ecoregions data, for those who might be familiar with that, as well as things like the terrestrial ecosystems data you see in front of you. This was a project of the USGS, and I think there was just a recent update to this version 2 that came out that we need to update on our platform. We also have a suite of socioeconomic and human well-being data sets. So these are things like the city water map. This is a global database identifying the catchment and the source areas for the water supply to several hundred of the world's cities. And this includes things like the water availability, the water usage, and the water extraction. We have data related to crop suitability through the end of the century. I know this is probably an area where a lot of you are particularly working in. And we also have data on livestock distributions and density around the planet. This is one that, again, was also just recently updated to version 4, I think, of the gridded livestock of the world. So we need to get this one updated as well. We also have several data sets that speak to the human footprints on the planet. One of them is called the Human Industrial Footprint Index, that you may or may not be familiar with. It's simply a cumulative pressure map of the planet. We also have access to the Human Modification Index data, which is more of a modeled approach to model human impacts of particular actions on our environment around us. And we also have several time series data sets. Some of you may be familiar with the Global Forest Watch program. I think it comes out of the University of Maryland. Some of you may know it as the Hansen data. This is data that goes back to 2020, approximately, based on the 30-meter Landsat satellites, and just a measure of tree cover loss over time. And we also have some of the more current global vegetation indices, such as the MPP and the GPP data sets calculated from MODIS. And these are the annualized data sets that we hold. This is just a really brief snapshot of our data. But if you do want to explore it a little bit further, you can click on that QR code in front of you. And we can probably send this presentation to you later for those of you that would like to explore it. That's the full list of data sets that are currently live on Biodiversity Lab. So now to move into the UNBL data collections. There are 4 types or 4 data collections on UNBL. The first, well, not in any particular order, but we have one based on ecosystem restoration, one that speaks to nature-based solutions to climate change, one that speaks to, sorry, I have a dry throat, one that speaks to protected areas, and finally, the more important one here is the KMGBF data set. Sorry, I'm drinking more water. Trying to get that to go away. So the KMGBF monitoring framework data collection is specifically tailored around providing access to and recognizing those global data sets that have been recommended by the metadata of the monitoring framework itself through its various decisions. The purpose of that is to allow users to come in and, oh, did we lose a screen? Are you still able to hear me?
Yeah, we still can hear you, but the screen is sort of black.
Yep. Let me try to fix that. Can you see me again now?
Yes.
Are you able to see my screen again now?
Yeah, we can see your screen.
Can you see the presentation again? My screen went black for a second there, so.
This is the different slide that we see previously.
Okay. All right. So you do see a big yellow map in front of you?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. This is the joys of using doing things over Zoom some days, right? But anyways, the one of the main purposes of these data collections is to allow users to visualize and evaluate their own national data sets against some of these global existing data sets, and with the intention of helping them fill in national data gaps where they exist. So a lot of countries don't necessarily have a space agency. They don't have the technical capacity to produce their own validated, say, land cover data sets, for example. So this is a place where they can come in and evaluate these existing global data sets against what their own particular needs are. So the GBF itself identifies three groups of indicators at the national level, one of which is headline, component, and complementary indicators. You can kind of think of them as almost like a hierarchical indicator approach. Is headline indicators, as the name implies, are the top most important indicators that countries should be able to calculate, they should be able to have, and they should be able to report on. Coming down from this, we move into these component and these complementary indicators, and each of which has their own methods for calculation, their own data requirements for calculating them. So the aim of this data collection, again, is to really kind of help set the data standard that countries can compare and use to evaluate their own national data sets against when they're working to calculate these indicators. And again, provide a global reference data set where perhaps no national data exists. So the way this works on UNBL is users are able to go into the web page, they're able to click on tabs for the three types of indicators, and they get a whole suite of information related to particular targets. There's information and links to the actual methodologies that have been identified by the CBD and other various parties for the calculation of these metrics. Gives other information just about the metrics and the indicators themselves in general. Some of the more general data on frequency of updates, resolution of data, and where that data is spatially available, where it has been created, if there's a curator of it globally, and we have it on UNBL, users can then go in and view it. As you see on the screen in front of you, this is, for example, looking again at the WDPA. It's the World Database on Protected Areas. So I figured probably now is probably a good time to try to answer some of the questions that were presented to me that I could potentially try to answer today. Particularly try to make my little talk around. The first of these are, what data sets do we have on UNBL that are related to crop biodiversity? And this is unfortunately going to be a very short answer because we have none. As a lot of you might be aware, there's not any very good comprehensive global data set on crop biodiversity, at least that we're aware of, that doesn't have a lot of bias in it. I was looking through the entirety of the UNBL data catalog, including those private workspaces, and there's only one country that has a database or a data set related to crop biodiversity, and that's Peru, that has a data layer on wild crop genetic diversity. So for those that aren't aware of the biodiversity in Peru, potatoes, which are one of the most important crops in the world, and tomatoes both originate from the Peruvian Andes. So they have a huge amount of biodiversity in these staple crops in Peru. But that is the only data set that we have full stop related to crop biodiversity. So this is a huge gap in data on UNBL, of course, but then also potentially globally. We don't have a comprehensive set of crop biodiversity data that is spatially meaningful. So the second question posed to me was, how can a research and capacity development project like yours, working to promote crop biodiversity, contribute to UNBL, and how can it connect with UNBL? And I think an answer to this is tied into that first question. We've identified that there's this clear gap in crop biodiversity data. And that's the place for experts and people doing research in the field to fill it. And that's not just for UNBL, it's for the global community in general, and for countries that really could need help working with crop data, number one, but then also in the reporting to CBD and other places. So this is a place where research organizations and students in particular can really fill in gaps that governments simply often don't have the capacity or the time to do. It's a really unique place to find these kind of niche and important areas where groups can contribute. And I think that's a particular space related to crop biodiversity. And how does that connect to UNBL? Well, I guess the way I was interpreting that was interpreting that connection as a technical connection to UNBL. So how is it that that data is shared with other users from the research body that produces it? Well, there's a lot of free open source software available these days via Stack services or elsewhere that allows users to freely share this data over the network. So this is a kind of thing where UNBL could connect to a data repository that, for example, you as a research organization who's producing this data can make available to others. And that's probably the connection I was thinking of. I suppose you could think about this in other ways where there's more formal relationships with groups like the UN or elsewhere. And those are certainly a more convoluted process to create. But for me, being a technical person, thinking about how UNBL connects with researchers and others who develop tools and develop data, that's a simple question of making those network connections and those service connections that we can then put onto UNBL and make that data available to users that may not have another means to do it, may not have the knowledge how to access it in other ways. And the final question that was posed to me that I can perhaps speak to a little bit is how can the academic community contribute to monitoring? And are there any good practices that we can emulate? To answer that second part of that first, are there any good practices that we can emulate? That's a very tricky one because we do work largely at the global scale at UNBL. We don't normally have, what's the expression? We don't have our feet on the ground where there is that best practice is being implemented. We do work with groups who work and publish and produce best practice guidance on these types of work, on these types of monitoring programs. And we can certainly get those two people who would be interested in following up on that. But to answer that first part of the question, how can the academic community contribute to monitoring? I mentioned it a second ago that quite often governments don't have capacity to do a lot of this work. Quite often they don't even know where to begin. And this is something we regularly hear when working with governments, is they don't know who they're going to get to do this work. They don't have necessarily the financing to do this work, to support it. So again, this is a place where academics can fill that void that governments typically don't have in-house capacity for. That sounds nice and easy though, right? You know, just academics and government working together. Of course, that can be tricky. Of course, it can be difficult to make those connections in the first place. But I know from my own experience, professional experience, where I used to work at the University of Queensland, they were directly involved with a lot of the government work that the state of Queensland or Australia would implement for conservation and conservation planning. The Mark Sand systematic conservation planning tool, which was used to produce, I think what was then the largest marine planning program in the world on the Great Barrier Reef in Australia, that was directly led by academics at the University of Queensland. So inherently, that the expertise and the knowledge and the capacity is typically going to be with the people who are in the room there listening to this today. You are the people that probably know how to do this. The government typically does not. And that's where the contribution can come to. How is the monitoring going to happen when governments don't have the capacity? Well, they can work with you, you can work with them. And that's where that contribution really comes. And it's, again, difficult to make those connections at times, but I think that's the most valuable contribution that could possibly be made by the academic community. It's often not about publishing papers, which we have to do, but it's really about those sometimes painful and slow-moving relationships we have with government that are actually the most meaningful. Maybe that's my own view on this, but I think that's really an important point to take home, that's really where we get impact for our work. So I think I don't want to keep talking there too long. Maybe we have some time for questions and things, but I'd quickly just mention that again, this is the UN Biodiversity Lab is a joint venture between the UNDP and the UN Environment Programme's World Conservation Monitoring Center. But none of it would be possible without the funding from the Moore Foundation, who provide huge amounts of funding to us to keep us running and to support our various projects, as well as our direct integration with the Convention on Biological Diversity. Terima kasih. Thanks very much for having me. And if there's any time for questions or anything, I'm happy to try to answer them. I do apologize if I spoke very quickly there, but thank you much.
Thank you, Mr. Atkinson, for sharing your valuable insight on the use of spatial data and global biodiversity monitoring framework through the UNBL. I hope you still can be here with us for the question and answer sessions. So now I move on to our final speaker. We have Dr. Gatot Haryo Pramono, the Director of Thematic Land Mapping at the Geospatial Information Agency, or BIG, in Indonesia. Dr. Gatot earned his PhD in coastal geology from the University of Kiel, Germany, and has extensive experience in geospatial data applications for sustainable land management. He will be presenting on one map, one policy to support sustainable land system and crop biodiversity management in Indonesia. Pak Gatot, are you already there with us?
Sudah Pak, di Bogor Pak.
Okay, thank you. Now the screen is yours, Pak.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Moderator. Thanks a lot, for Faculty of Agriculture, Brawijaya University. I'm supposed to come to the campus, but I'm sorry that I have other things to do. So let me share my presentations. Just a second. Okay. And then I would like to appreciate also from Brawijaya University. We have some of the works that we have done together regarding the mapping for the land systems, and also we have collaborations on the processing of the data of the soils for us to make the flood hazard mapping, and appreciate for that. So I would like to talk about in the policy part, especially regarding the one map policy to support sustainable land management in Indonesia. So I think it is good. For the faculties and for the students at Brawijaya University to understand what is going on in our government regarding the land map policy. Okay. So actually in Indonesia, we have not only Indonesia, and most of the countries in the world, we have the problems of the productions of the geospatial data done by several institutions. So we have so many layers and many actors who are doing the mappings. And I think if we think that they have a good intention actually to provide the data that people can use it. But of course, when the government or users would like to get the data, the problems is the different results, or even the different in the database or in the various systems to produce the data. So the problems came, and until one time our presidents found that the data provided by him is not valid from two institutions, but they have the same themes, but it has the same values. So in that case, he asks to our government to have one map for the one national reference. So in that case, we need to have the person or the institution who is responsible for certain maps. And it was happened in 2010, about 15 years ago, when the president was Mr. Susilo Bambang Yudhoyono. So it was born the policy, which we call it one-way policy. This is the mandate of the law number 4 2011 regarding the geospatial information, and we would like to have the data to be coordinated, to be integrated between the institutions, so it will not make the users not really certain with the data. So in that case, after the Act of 4 number 2011, we have also the presidential decree number 9 in year of 2016 regarding the acceleration of the implementation of the one map policy. At the time, it was the scale at 50,000. So that's in the rules, and also in the one map policy, we try to to have the data to be united and to be used by the users. Let's move on to the process. So how the one map policy is implemented, we have set up about 4 stages in the process of the data. The first is the compilations. Compilations means we acquire the data from several institutions, and we would like to know what are the outputs of the data that they produce in their responsibility. And then we save that in the secretariat. That means the BIG, because BIG is the national agencies for information geospatials. So we integrate the data from other institutions. The second part is the integrations, and we will check the data, whether the data is in accordance with the RBI or the base maps of Indonesia. And we should have the results with the standardized and georeference thematic maps, which have been integrated and corrected regarding the base map. And then after we get the integrations, and then we do the data sharing. So we share the results in the GeoPortal. GeoPortal is the website in which people can get the data, the one map data, and to be used by users. And last but not least, the synchronizations. This is the last part is actually the most difficult part because we need to synchronize between different data. For example, the data for permissions to use the land, for example. Probably one institutions of the mineral give the permission to make the mining, and the other institutions actually, like for example, the Ministry of Forestry, they decide that that area is the area of the forest protected area. So in that case, there is a disagreement between the forest protected area and the area of mining. So in that case, we need to talk with both parties, and we try to solve how to solve the difference in the mappings of that area. And not only one map policy in Indonesia, we have after that we have the One Data Indonesia, which is kind of after the one map policy, in which the presidents also would like to have the statistic data to be in one data. Because it doesn't make sense if one institution produce the data, similar data with other institutions in terms of statistic data, but the statistic data give the different results. So in that case, the Ministry of Planning released the Presidential Regulations number 23 in 2021 is regarding the one map data policy. So in that case, we can say that although one map policy was born before the one data, but actually the one map is under the one data, because one data includes a one map policy and also about the statistical data, which is run by the National Statistical Bureau atau BPS ya, seperti itu. And the next is the questions how the one map policy can support sustainable land management in Indonesia. So in this case, I would like to discuss about how we are mapping for the land resource management in Indonesia. Actually, there are 4 institutions in Indonesia who are doing the landform mappings. For example, in the right corner up, this from the Ministry of Agriculture. They produce the soil maps and the pit maps, for example. And the Ministry of Energy, they provide the geology and geomorphology maps. And the Ministry of Forestry and Forestry, they provide the ecoregion maps. In that case, in the BIG, provide the land system map or morphology maps. And as I discussed later, you will see that our data for the land system maps actually the combinations or integrations from other institutions. So in this case, this is the examples that we for the at BIG we integrate the stakeholders definition and methods. So for example, in the upper left, this is from the Ministry of Energy and Minerals, and they have the definition for the landscape mapping, observation surveys, and laboratory analysis. And it's the same with the Ministry of Agriculture. In that case, we try to integrate and combine what is definition of landscape mapping and survey and laboratory analysis based on the definition and methods defined by Ministry of Energy and Ministry of Agriculture. And we will talk about the land system definitions. So the land, as a system, it's actually, defined by people who would like to learn about the land system. It is the collection of landform units whose processes and formation are interrelated, forming a relatively uniform repeating pattern in terms of relief, topography, soil, vegetation, and climate. So the land system is particularly very complex. It holds everything in the lands. So, and the map of the land system should contains the morphology, which is the shape of the landform, lithology, and then soil, climate, land use, land cover, and also hydrology. So it is good, that we can understand the land, our land, in terms of several interrelated factors, so that we can have a good understanding of our land. In the land systems, we have a hierarchy of mappings. So this is from the British Directorate of Overseas Surveys, BOS. So in the broader scale, on the lower scale, in the 1 to 500,000, we have the land region. So it is a very general in nature, and the most dominant features are genesis and lithology. So this is for the scale of 1 to 500,000. And then going down to make more details, the land system. So the land system is usually in the scale of 1 to 250,000, and the parameters include the relief, lithology, soil, climate, and genesis, and also it's just a repeating pattern of that. And going to the more details, the land facet is the scale of 1 to 50,000, and it details the land system highlights and differences in slope bending and focuses on morphological parameters. And the largest scale, it is the land element, which is usually in 1 to 5,000, and it details. It is about the single slope and usually requires very detailed terrain data. So it's very detailed data. It means that it needs more surface as we go down from land region, land system, land facet, and land element. So in terms of land element, the examples are the mountain complex, hill complex, or plain complex. So more general, right? What is whether that area is the mountainous area or a plains area or a or area. And why this land system is needed? Because it's needed for the general understanding of the area. If we go to land facet is more detailed. It includes the upper slopes, middle slope, and foot slopes. So it means if the land system is the mountain complex, and then we could have the upper slopes, middle slopes, and foot slopes of that mountainous complex. So this is more detailed defined. And then the land elements, it can include the shoulder, upper back slope, and lower back slope. So this is more in details of what the land facet that we have before. If we talk about the land systems, we also should discuss about the land capability. So land capability is assessment of the physical characteristics of the land, and is specifically reviewed from the aspect of agriculture or plantation use. So it is most common. It is very common that when we need to plan or to grow agriculture, and then we need to know what is the capability of that land. And the maps of land capability are generally created by analyzing the physical characteristics of land and soil. So regarding the topography and also the soil. And also the land system maps should contain sufficient information to meet the need for land capability data. So the land system is used, for us to know the capability of that land so that we can grow agriculture in that area, proper agriculture. And the study of this parameter. So we have some parameters in the land systems are need to be synchronized in relation to classification, level of data detail, scale, and units. So in terms of if you use the land system data, you should understand what are the levels of data, the classification, and also what are the scales, what is the scales that we use, and the units that we use for that. This is the common database for the land systems. We have about 11 elements or 11 parameters. First is the slope steepness, how steep is a slope, and then the second is area affected by erosion, and then the third is the erosion degree. The fourth is soil depth. How is the depth of the soil? Texture of the topsoil, texture of the subsoil, and permeability. Permeability is very important because we need to know whether that water, when there's a hole, will be taken by the soil, or it will be as a runoff. And then also we have the drainage, rock fragment, and flood or hazard, and salinity. So those are 11 points of the parameters of the land systems, and also we have to declassify that in different class of the land capability. So in that case, this is the rows are actually the parameters, and this is the class of the land capability for that specific parameters. And then the landform of that we create from BIG land system. This is from the data from different institutions, from the institution from National Coordinating for the disaster, and then from the Ministry of Public Works, Ministry of Agency for Climatology and Geophysics, and Ministry of Energy, and Ministry of Agriculture. So this how to explain it. And the land system that we create, we got the data from the Ministry of Energy, which is the meteorological data, and that we use incorporated in our data. And also we got the data from the Ministry of Agriculture regarding the soil types, distributions in that area. And also we got the rainfall and climate data from Agency for Meteorology and Geophysics in Indonesia. So we combine those data into the land system data. This is the example of the land system maps that we created. for an area. And this is the difference between the land system maps in the 1 to 250,000 scale on the left and 1 to 50,000 scale on the right. So as you can see, the classifications is more detailed in the 1 to 50,000 as opposed to 1 to 250,000. This is a big area, big polygon for example, and this polygon is divided into several parts, more details. For the users of the land systems could be various institutions, Ministry of Forestry, for the ecoregions maps. So the our land system data will be used by other institutions also for environmental carrying capacity map, critical land map, and for the Ministry of this is environment. This for mangrove landscape area, and Ministry of agraria and also tata ruang ya. Tata ruang itu and it's the follow evaluation of special planning map and land suitability and capability. And last but not least is from the Agency of Disasters. Is for the landslide hazard map and multi-hazard maps that are created because it's related to the conditions of the soil and the morphology. I think those are the points that I would like to discuss. I just as I discussed, I hope that it broadens our knowledge about regarding how the land system map is being used for other institutions and for other users, and will be beneficial for us for development of our country. Thank you very much. I would like to return to the moderator. Thanks.
Thank you, Pak Gatot, for your presentations on how spatial integration through one policy can support sustainable land use and biodiversity planning in Indonesia. Please let's give his now we move to the Q&A session. So here, we still have plenty of time to do this session. So I will invite participants both on site and and online to share your questions. For the participant here, you can just simply raise your hand and then mention your name and your program study before asking the questions. And for the participant online, you can simply write your question on the chat box or raise your hand. Okay, I will start with the first questions. Any question? Yes.
All right, good afternoon I would like firstly to thank you to moderator to ask the question. So first of all, for my question is to Mr. Scott. I would like to ask about before that you mentioned about the UNDL is one of the platform that you support stakeholder for monitoring decision and contribute for the map spatial solutions. So, and my question is from all the snapshot that in your presentation, the based on from the snapshot is that we can use a border processing database to present the layout for the certain uses, for examples, for biodiversity that we can compilation from another snapshot to snapshot is for certain uses for us. That's it for my question. Thank you.
Thank you. You forgot to mention your name.
Oh yeah, forget. Before that, my name is Emil Dimas Pantinugraha, and I'm from Nature Agrotechnology and Conservation Soil Science. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mas Dimas. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Second question, please.
Okay, thank you for the opportunity. First, my name is Ramin Savitri. I am from Soil and Water Management Master Program. My question is for Mr. Adit. How does Mr. Adit plan to overcome the limitation or the challenge lies in the inability to map the growth fossil of rice and like vegetative and generative, and the limitation is to detect rice varieties. So, Mr. Adit think that machine learning methods such as random forest could potentially address this challenge. Thank you.
Thank you, Mbak Sapitri. For third questions, before we, yeah, just
Hello, my name is Cody Benavides. My question is for Mr. Atkinson. I'm also in the Soil and Water Management Magister program here. My question is mostly related to the biodiversity data that you have mentioned. Over the past couple of decades, a pattern that's been emerging is this sort of homogenization of cash crops, throughout the world. And of course, the Cavendish banana being a good example of that. So how can this data be used specifically in Indonesia? Or are there already programs or organizations that are using this data to contribute to the use of local and neglected crops specifically to diversify not only crops but also the production and distribution of them? So thank you very much.
thank you. Yeah, we keep these three questions first, and then we give opportunity for the presenter to answer the question. We have three questions, two for Mr. Atkinson, and then one question for Pak Adit. We start with Mr. Atkinson for the first question.
Yeah, thanks. Would it be possible to repeat the first question a little bit? I wasn't hearing it perfectly well.
Yeah, I will give the mic to the participant. Can you please repeat your questions?
Mr. Swan, I would like to ask from the UNPL, I hope it's one of the functions, stakeholder monitoring, discussion, and contribute. And the question is, in that we can compilation the snapshot that are within presentation to processing data that we need to for certain uses for special data. Thank you.
Sorry, the question was how are we processing the data itself?
Yes.
So in general, at the UNBL, we are not involved in the process of creating data or processing data sets ourselves. We are generally an end consumer of existing data sets that are created by other third parties. So academics, other institutions, perhaps the UN Environment Program in places like that. I mentioned the Global Forest Watch project. There are also a large number of NGOs that do produce data. So things like WRI, that's the World Resource Institute, I believe. They are large producers of data sets themselves. There is a small amount of data that we do a little bit of post-processing on, or if we want to integrate two data sets to create, say, for example, if we want to know where NDVI and flood risk or land cover co-occur for a particular reason for that, we would do that in-house. But most of our data that we serve on UNBL is coming from existing data providers whose purpose is to create that data, whose specialty and expertise is to create that data or indicators. I hope that answers your question.
All right, thank you so much. It's enough for me.
Cool, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Maybe follow-up questions. Seeing your presentation, I haven't seen Indonesian smile correctly, only in certain parameters over there. So my one question is whether the data availability throughout the globe is all equal, or is there any certain area that's still lacking in database?
Yes, there is still a large bias, particularly in biodiversity data. Things that are remotely sensed or able to be remotely sensed are generally pretty good until you start getting into the higher latitudes where satellite coverage tends to fall apart a little bit. But data sets and data types that require in-field measurements, there is still quite a large gap. I shouldn't say gap. There's a large bias, obviously, towards parts of the world where people have been doing that longer or have had the resources to do that longer. And that often tends to be places that are unique, have very highly unique biodiversity, for example, where some British researchers 100 years ago started collecting records in Indonesia, for example, or in Central Africa. So there would be, even within those highly biodiverse regions, there will be particular biases where people have gone, and I think that still exists today. So we do see that. It's certainly getting better, but there is still a gap, I think, between a lot of the remotely sensed data, the Earth observations data, and the more biodiversity based presence absence type data.
Yeah, thank you. Is there any possibility, I mean, for the university, let's say Indonesia, can help to fill this gap, particularly the Indonesia area, so that because we here have a lot of students that probably can be trained to collect the data, so we can improve the data collections.
Absolutely. I mean, Indonesia is one of the most mega diverse countries on the planet, and in particular in the marine space. The marine diversity in Indonesia, I think, is the most on the planet. So there's still a large amount of work to be done or could be done in a lot of those places. And I think that's why most of us get into ecology in the first place, is because we want to go outside and count butterflies and fish.
Yeah, thank you. Now we move maybe to the third question. It's still for you, Scott. The question from our master student.
Would you be able to repeat that one as well for me?
Can you please repeat the questions?
Yeah, so my question is mostly related to how this data can be used, or if there's already organizations within Indonesia that are working to use the biodiversity crop data for, yeah, I guess what was the main focus of it? Increasing the distribution and production of local crops, as compared to kind of the trend toward crop homogenization that we're seeing kind of globally. Yeah, and how this data can be used to increase production and distribution, tracking toward those goals. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for the question. I think I think probably that is a question better answered by practitioners in the country, people who are working in Indonesia specifically. I think you are the people who would have a better understanding of the situation in Indonesia than I would. Certainly. We're really talking about that local level understanding and data knowledge. And when we start getting into those very fine granular resolution data sets that are needed for those types of things, the climate data, for example, where that's a big driving element potentially of crop diversity, what can grow where, what exists where. Those are very high resolution types of data that really only practitioners on the ground in country are going to have a good handle on. And I'm sure there's quite a lot of NGOs, particularly working in the biodiversity conservation space, things like the Nature Conservancy or I forget, there's a big Australian one, I'm forgetting what their acronym is. but they probably are working in those spaces. But I suspect when the large NGOs are largely working in somewhere like Indonesia, it's probably related primarily to biodiversity conservation and not crop diversity per se.
Thank you for the response. This I think is also like you said, it's very important. I mean, and this UNPL has high potential to be used to improve our productions here in Indonesia. Now I will move to Mr. Adit to ask the question from Sapitri.
Okay, thank you very much, Pak Danny. If I'm not wrong, the question is how we find the limitation of our method and result. Is it right?
Yeah, I think
Okay.
the question is about that.
Yeah, so we have to kind of plan to approach this limitation. If we are using the Sentinel, similar with our previous research, so we should try to collect the parcel of the land. So we plan to make a boundary for each rice field parcel, and then we collect the reflectance, and also we try to conduct a survey to classify the vegetative phase and generative phase. So we have a lot of training data, and before we try to analyzing the remote sensing and random forest, we can make like a parcel polygon using this, or maybe it's raster or polygon in parcel. So we have a source of data, which part is vegetative phase and which part is generative phase. So from here, we would like to using the unit from the convolutional neural network to make it really happens. And after we have the information of the phase of the plant, so we can running again the random forest analysis. And the second one, we also planning to using the unmanned aerial vehicle, which is have a high resolution, like 3 centimeters in resolutions, but it's also have a limiting factor, like the size of the file and also the area of coverage. So we would like to compare these two kinds of technology. So maybe after we run this two methods, we have like the best result for our phosphor monitoring system. So maybe that's all from me, Pak Dani.
Thank you for the response. Is that answer your question? Do you have any other following questions or no? Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you, Pak Adit. Yeah, we have a lot of methodology to be used, but then usually the problem is on our physical instrument. Yeah, we need supercomputer to do the process and else. Yeah, we still have 15 minutes for another 3 questions. Is there any questions? Maybe online. I cannot see whether we have any online question or not. Any questions? Yes, please. Especially for Pak Dana and Pak Gatot, yeah.
Okay, thank you for the opportunity, moderator. Let me introduce myself. I'm Viva from doctoral student of agriculture, faculty, Universitas Brawijaya. Okay, I have questions for Mr. Ajit. Yes, I think the research for Mr. Ajit about using integrated remote sensing and machine learning to predict phosphor dynamics is very interesting. So the question is, what types of input data are required to project phosphor dynamics using integrated remote sensing and machine learning. And if we have just small data, can this method still be applied? I think it's all. Thank you.
Thank you for the straightforward questions. Another question? Yes, Pak Sahrul.
Thank you very much, moderator. First, I have a question to Mr. Scott. Thank you very much for the nice presentation and good information about the UN database. My question is, could you inform us here the source of the data? I mean, you show the soil organic carbon data distribution, yeah, in the world. I mean, is it the data of soil organic carbon came from the publication or came from research or maybe from the other source? And then my second question is to Prof. Danan. Thank you very much for the presentation, the information about the prototype of the national database of crop biodiversity. What do you think is it possible? I mean, to create the data like in the UN, yeah, database for the national in Indonesia. I think if is it possible, it will be good. I think it will be give good benefit, yeah, for the government. I mean, to as supporting for preparing the policy. Thank you very much.
Thank you for the questions. Pak Sahrul, maybe we have one more. Yeah.
Okay, thank you for the opportunity, Mr. Dani, as moderator. Let me introduce myself. My name is Edward from the University of Brawijaya, Faculty of Agriculture and Department of Social Science. I will ask question for Mr. Gatot. Okay, I'm currently using one of the map for my research. The map is nutrients distribution map. So I'm using a map from 2019, and so the result we obtain are less relevant to the distribution of the map. So the question is, how do we maintain the relevance of a map, and when can it be updated to improve its relevance? Or mungkin how a map can be used as a reference since it was created. Thank you.
Okay, I think we have enough questions. So yeah, for the first question, it's coming from Mbak Afifah to Pak Adit. What is the input data needed to run this model, yeah, to estimate the phosphorus availability?
Okay, thank you, Pak Dani. I got a lot of funds today. I will share again about my presentation to answer the question. Could you see the presentation, Pak Dani?
Yes.
Okay. On the question from Mrs. Pipa, there are two questions. What kind of data types, and also how if we just have a little or a few data. So for the first question, here is the data. So I use the Sentinel for the satellite imagery, and then we are using the digital elevation model. We are use soil data from Badan Informasi Geospasial, and also climate data from Meteorological Climate Bureau, and also the geology map. So From this data, we transform it to several index. And why we choose this index? Because we try to, there are so many index, about 380 index in index database, but maybe the strongest index to monitor the phosphor, both in soil and also in plant, is here. So we try to read recent article journal. So we have this kind of index, and also we try to transform the DEM to the relief, slope, curvature, and this is a relief gradient. And also from the soil data, we transform it to, we separated sand, silt, clay, because we want to know which texture have a bigger impact on the phosphor, and also the climate data and geological maps. And the second question is about how if we just have a few data. So random forest, actually they try to make a bootstrap analysis, which is they want to random sampling pixel, maybe 10 until 50 pixel into the one tree. So from this 50 samples, they try to classify it and then make a decision. And in random forest, we have 100 or maybe 1,000 trees. And then in the end of the process, we try to voting from its trees to deserve the final result. So if the data is just a few in number, so maybe the F1 error, the validation, it will be not okay for our result. So I think we should understanding how we can take our sample collection in fields. Don't forget, if we have a land mapping unit, so in one scale at let's say if the scale is 1.50,000, so we have like a limiting minimal point that we should collect in the field. So the number of sample is important to check for the minimal number of the soil sampling. So if we are just have like a few sample, so the error will be decreased in the random forest. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Pak Adit. I think that's answer your question. Yeah, the more data you have, the better the prediction will be. Yeah, thank you. And then we move to the second question from Pak Sarul. Pak Sarul had two questions. One is for Mr. Atkinson about the data acquisition.
Yeah, thanks again for that question as well. I think one of the data sets you mentioned was the soil organic carbon data sets, and where that's coming from. That particular data set I showed was the GSOC data from the FAO. That's I believe a combined aggregation of nationally provided global soil carbon, or sorry, underground soil carbon, soil organic carbon data. There are some gaps filled in that process where national data isn't available, but that is an FAO product. Some of the other ones that I did show there, both the above ground and the below ground biomass carbon, those are products from NASA, from the ORNL NASA lab. I think most of these organic carbon, soil biomass carbon data sets are static data sets. They're not necessarily updated regularly, and for a reason, soil organic carbon does not regularly change. So the temporal component and the updates is a little bit less. In terms of getting the actual information of where all the data sets come from, I will stick the link into the chat for you to go and actually view the current list of UMBL datasets. There is a full suite of metadata in there, the sources, the publications, who provide them. So if you are interested in particular datasets, you can see exactly where it's from. Any of the the restrictions on the data, for example, some datasets are not available for commercial use, etc. But hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah, thank you for the answer. Yeah, I think it's answered your question, Pak. Yeah. Now we move to Prof. Dana. The question is about, is it possible to create the national database like the UNDP?
Yes. Thank you, Professor Ron. Yes, it is very possible because that is one of the aim of the National Biodiversity database. So the government can make policy using the information of data from the database from contributors that we mentioned before, such as from Biodiversity, from BRIN, from local government, or from history, or others. They can and will input their data information into the database. So in the future, the National Biodiversity database will have very big data information that can be used to make a decision or policy in the government. I think.
Yeah, maybe a little bit follow-up question to that. Is it possible for for the community to also contribute for the database collections? Because now in the globe there is a movement that encouraging the community, they call it citizen science, something like that, that can help us to collect the database.
Yes, the community can be. We can put the community to be contributors as well, so they can input their data information into the database. Yeah, so yeah, I think it's good.
Yeah, we also have a student probably that can also contribute to the database, of course, collections. Yeah, thank you. Now we move to the last questions for Pak Gatot. It's this question from Edward asking about the relevancy of the map that has been produced by because Edward using the nutrient distribution map from 2019. How often the map will be updated? That's the question, Pak Gatot.
Ya, mohon maaf Pak, tadi itu apa kurang jelas ya pertanyaan itu, data apa Pak yang dipakai Pak ya? Punten.
Data yang dipakai adalah data sebaran ketersediaan hara tahun 2019. Bapak apakah?
Oh yeah, okay, thanks. Oh, okay. So this is the maps about the salt salt field mappings, right? Something like that. And it was made in 2019. Actually, it was done at the time, and we have not yet done any updates for that data up to now, because we have another focus of our works, and we are not continuing on that mapping. So in that case, I'm sorry to say that we cannot provide the updates of the data. But if you would like to know if there is possibility of others updates from other the institutions, you could contact to the Ministry of Fishery, Marine and Fishery, and there is a part of that area which is regarding the salt fields. So I think probably they have the update of the data. But as far as I know, for our institution, we have not done any update for that. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you for the answer, Pak. Yeah, we really, the map of nutrient availability is very important, particularly for us as agricultural students. Yeah, thank you very much, Pak. I'm afraid that we have run out of the time. Thank you to all the speakers and the participants for engaging and insightful discussions. We have learned how integrating the spatial data, policy framework, and innovative technologies and significantly advance sustainable crop biodiversity management. Let's give another round of applause to our speaker, Professor Danang Surya Chandra, Dr. Gatot Haryo Pramono, Mr. Scott Atkinson, and Mr. Aditya Nugraha Putra. This concludes our second session of the Bio Symposium 2025. Thank you very much for your participation and see you on another symposium. I give back to the MC. Thank you.
Thanks to you.
Okay. We warmly thank to Dr. Dani Bisaputra, SPMP, for moderating this session and express our gratitude to Professor Danang Surya Chandra, Dr. Gatot Haryo Pramono, Bachelor of Science, Master of Applied Science, Scott Atkinson, and Insinyur Aditya Nugraha Putra, SPMP, for this insightful and valuable presentation. We also appreciate all participants joining online and offline for their engagement in this afternoon session.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we will now proceed to the present small cave for our honorable speakers. Please welcome and stand up at the front stage. Professor Danang Surya Chandra, Research Center for Bioinformatics, National Research and Innovation Agency, Indonesia.
And we kindly invite you, Professor Chandru Kurniawan, SPMP PhD, to come forward and present the small gift.
Okay, maybe please give a warm for applause.
Thank you to Professor Chandru Kurniawan, SPMP PhD, and Professor Danang Surya Chandra. We have now come to the closing remark session. We would like to invite the head of the Soil Science Department, Faculty of Agriculture, Universitas Brawijaya, Professor Sahrul Kurniawan, SPMP PhD, to deliver the closing speech. For Professor Sahrul Kurniawan, SPMP PhD, time is yours.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Good afternoon, all the distinguished speakers, guests, and participants. Alhamdulillah, today we have been for great presentation from all speakers about science and policy engagement on promoting crop biodiversity through innovative space application. On behalf of Soil Science Department, Faculty of Agriculture, University of Brawijaya, I would like to thank all the wonderful experts who spoke amazing information. I hope it can increase our capacity in monitoring of crop biodiversity using space application. Finally, I would like to thank very much to ESCAP for facilitating this event, all speakers and all organizing committee under managed by Bu Putri and all the organizing committee. Also, thank you very much for our moderator who preparing the symposium today very well. I hope we will see you in the next meeting on crop biodiversity next year. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Professor Syahrul Kurniawan, SPM, PhD, for the closing remark. Okay, with that, we officially conclude today's Bio Symposium. Currently, research on science and policy and judgment in biodiversity holds substantial potential for advancing more sustainability and innovative agricultural studies. Let us continue to foster collaboration to enhance innovation and the application of research findings.
On behalf of the organizing committee, we would like to express our deepest gratitude to all speakers, moderators, and participants for your valuable contributions and active participation through the event.
We hope today's symposium has been insightful and inspiring for everyone.
Thank you once again, and see you at our next event. Good afternoon. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.